Good morning and welcome to a new week and a thought for the week. And today we have just a short one from Romans 2 verse 11, which simply says, God does not show favouritism. Favouritism is an interesting concept for us, isn't it? Because if we're honest, most of us show favouritism. We show favouritism to people within our own family. We show favouritism towards our spouses. We show favouritism towards our children. We show favouritism towards our friends. We show favouritism towards people who can benefit us in some way. It's kind of the world that we live in. And in some ways that's right, isn't it? Maybe it's not favouritism. Maybe it's preferential treatment to people, because we kind of grade relationships, don't we, based on how important they are to us. So our close familial relationships, our spouse relationships, our children relationships, parent-children relationships, they are the most important relationships to us. And so therefore we prioritize, we give preferential treatment to people within that category. We do that with the people around us, our friends, people who are good to us, kind to us. We treat them with a certain degree of favouritism, in that we show favour to them above anybody else. Or maybe it's within the workplace, because if we prioritise relationships that are going to come back to us in some way, in a positive way, in a good way, maybe that's worth investing in and showing favouritism to as well. We live in a world where there is favouritism, and we live in relationships where there's favouritism. What goes wrong, I think, at times is where you have family relationships, I'm going to talk about particularly, where there's favouritism shown to one group or one person at the expense of others. So we see that in the Bible, don't we, that Jacob shows favouritism towards Joseph, and Joseph, that kind of shows a flaw in the relationships he has with his brothers, or creates a rift between him and his brothers, and it ends up with him being thrown down a well and sold into slavery. Now, you might not have experienced that level of betrayal or that kind of level of rift in your families before, but you might have experienced rifts, and you might have experienced difficulties in your family relationships, and those are painful and those are hard, and they may well be as a result of favouritism, where you say, oh man, if I could have anyone's parents, I'd have your parents. It's feel like you say to your siblings, because sometimes parents treat children differently, and they show favouritism like Jacob did, and actually like Isaac did before him, to one above the other, and that never ends well. And yet we come to this verse in Romans, where Paul says that God does not show favouritism, and that's a really important thing for us to understand, because we try to behave as though we can benefit, from good behaviour. We try to behave in ways we think are going to come back on us well. And with God, that doesn't work, because God is not impressed by your good behaviour, and he isn't shocked by your bad behaviour. And actually, how much love he lavishes on you is not dependent on either of those things. God loves you not because you are lovable. You are lovable because he loves you, and because he places worth and value on you. Therefore, you are loved. If I think about my relationship with my son, I love him. He doesn't need to do anything for me to earn that love. Because I love him, he is the object of my love. And so with God, who is infinitely better parent than I am, whose love is infinitely greater than even the greatest love that I could have, he lavishes love on us not because of anything that we do or the absence of things we don't do, but because that's who he is. And because of that, there's no favoritism. There's no one who can earn that love more than someone else, or no one who can kind of cozy up to God, and therefore that's where his attention goes, or no one who can dominate God's attention You know, you have that in families as well, don't you? Where you have the favoured child that kind of dominates the attention and the affection of a parent. That isn't the case with God. It's not that you get super holy people who cozy up to God and God goes, oh, that's where all my attention's going to be, and there's nothing left for anybody else. God does not show favouritism. And maybe you need to hear that this morning, because maybe you're someone who has not been shown favour or been the object of favouritism. Maybe someone else has been the object of favouritism in your relational contexts, and you feel the pain of being left out. But remember that God does not show favouritism, that you are as welcome, as included, as drawn in, as much an object of the lavishing of God's love as our Heavenly Parent, as anybody else is. There's nothing you can do to earn it. There's nothing you can do to disqualify yourself from it other than to open up your hands and accept it. So however you come, feeling like you're the bee's knees and you should be there, or whether you are feeling like you don't bring anything to the table, and what would God possibly want with someone like you? If you come with open hands, you will receive from him the full extent of his love, the great lavishing of his love upon you. And I pray that as you go into this week, that that's what you might experience. So God bless you.